All right. Hi, everybody. My name is Sydney Williams. Going to pop this up for you just in case you're new here. Welcome to the Hiking My Feelings virtual campfire. My name is Sydney Williams. I'm the founder and author of Hiking My Feelings, and this is night 6 of our 20-night virtual campfire event. This is a fundraiser to raise money for the Hiking My Feelings Wilderness Wellness Center, the American Diabetes Association, and RAINN, which is the nation's largest anti-sexual violence organization. I'm your host tonight. This is the show. What are we doing? The Hiking My Feelings Wilderness Wellness Center is going to be built on the property that I'm currently sitting on. This is called the Reggae Ranch. We're out in Julian, California, nestled on about 9 acres in. I'm your host tonight. This is the show. What are we... Every night that happens. Goes live in my ears and then I lose it. So we're here on 9 acres in Julian, California. I'm going to be building the center right up there on top of that hill. And over the course of the evening tonight, I will share some of the renderings that we have for the build in case you're new here and you haven't been here before. What we're going to do tonight, I have the lovely privilege and honor of interviewing and listening to Mr. Brendan Clemente sing a couple songs, tell us a little bit about his life. The theme for this chapter is what's best for me is what's best for everyone always. And we'll talk a little bit about what that means to me and how we can use that mantra to take that into other areas of our life so we can show up as our best selves in life, love, work, and in the communities around us. The chapter that I'm reading from tonight is called I Can Do Hard Things. And my second guest, Vikki Otero, is a member of the Hiking My Feelings family. And she said this is her favorite chapter. So we're going to find out why. And then we're going to talk about some hard things. So if you're new here, buckle up, sit down, grab some tissues, grab a snack, grab your favorite beverage. We got 2 hours of inspiring conversations, some great music, and let's kick it off. So if you're following along at home, the book that I'm reading is this one, Hiking My Feelings, Stepping into the Healing Power of Nature. I wrote it, and tonight we're reading chapter 5, like I mentioned. We're going to be starting on page 75 if you're reading along. And if you aren't, then just have a listen. And to set this chapter up, last chapter, which was Thankful for Snaps, I almost pooped my pants on the Trans-Catalina Trail. You're welcome. And as we went to bed that night, I was just pretty stoked about sleeping by the ocean. And we had heard there was a rain forecast, but Southern California doesn't get a lot of rain. What are the chances of that happening? So let's find out what happens next. Chapter 5, I Can Do Hard Things, page 75 if you're reading along at home. After midnight, I heard a loud crash. I woke from a deep sleep, sitting straight up in the tent. What was that? I shouted. Barry sat up in a daze. I panicked, and my first assumption was that we were being attacked by bison. I wiped my eyes and rubbed my face, trying to catch my breath. Once I figured out where I was and what was happening, I realized it was raining. The crash was thunder, not a bison coming to wake us up for a midnight cuddle puddle. I hadn't been in a thunderstorm like this since we lived in Illinois, and I certainly had never experienced rain like this in a tent. This wasn't really part of the plan, and my groggy brain was having a hard time. What do we do? Where do we go? Are we safe? I asked. It's just a little rain. Everything's going to be okay, Barry replied. I had to pee. Great. The last thing I wanted to do was wear my too tight shoes and slosh through puddles to get to the porta potty across the campground. I grabbed Barry's shoes, put them on my feet, and unzipped the tent. Just a little rain? I asked nobody in particular. As I looked outside, I saw water rushing down to our campsite. We had opted to sleep underneath a tree, and I was regretting that decision. A moat was forming around our tent, and there were bison prints right outside of the tent that were full of water. It reminded me of that scene in Jurassic Park where they're in the Jeep, and Jeff Goldblum has a cup of water, and you can see the water ripple and vibrate as the T-Rex was approaching from the forest. I looked out towards where the porta potty was. Hopefully, nobody else had to go right now. If I made my way out of this tent without soaking these shoes to the sole, that would be a miracle. If I had to stand and wait for someone to finish up, I'd be done for. I couldn't run because there were too many puddles to navigate. The gravel road that separated us from the toilet was turning into a mud pit. But I didn't have a choice. I had to go. And after the shitstorm on the way from Little Harbor, I didn't trust a fart. Oh my God. How do you let me write these sentences? I unzipped the tent the rest of the way, and I wished Barry I wished Barry a nice rest of his life in case I got gored by a bison on the way to the porta potty and clumsily crawled over him to get outside. I half tiptoed, half hopped through the puddles, navigating the distance between the tent and a toilet like a battlefield. Every military battle scene in every movie I'd ever watched was now coming to life. I had visions of tucking and rolling to avoid a rogue eagle, as if eagles would be swooping humans in a thunderstorm. I imagined a bison waiting for me outside of the porta potty when I was ready to return to the tent, unsure if he was offering a ride or if he was challenging me to a duel. When I finally made it to the bathroom, I clumsily fumbled for a toilet seat cover and held my breath, assuming this would be the most disgusting porta potty of all time. Once I sat down and got my wits about me, I realized I was wrong. It was dry inside, clean. The sound of the rain on the plastic roof was oddly soothing. I wondered if I could just ride out the storm. Mother Nature had other plans for me, and waiting it out wouldn't be one of them, because as soon as I thought about that, I heard more rain, louder, another crash of thunder. It was getting worse. I had to get back to the tent. Making my way back to my cozy sleeping bag was less treacherous, but still scary. I slipped and slid around all the muddy bits. I felt these shoes becoming heavier with accumulated mud, causing my calves and shins to cramp up. I danced and hopped and tiptoed back to the tent, and when I arrived, I was exhausted. I unzipped the tent, turned around, and sat down in it backwards with my feet hanging out of the tent. I didn't want to bring these muddy shoes inside, so I took them off and tucked them under the rain fly, hoping they wouldn't get any worse between now and the morning. I wiggled my way over Barry and back into my sleeping bag, checking the tent for leaks. We were fine, for now. As long as I wasn't getting wet, I could handle this. I started to tell Barry about the battlefield between the tent and the toilet, and drifted off back to sleep to the sound of rain on the tent. I slept for another few hours. By the time we woke up, the rain had stopped and we had emerged from the tent to assess the situation. As we moved around the campground, we sloshed it around in the mud. I tried to keep my pack on the bench of the picnic table so it wouldn't get soaked in a puddle. As we were gearing up to leave, it started raining again. I started whining and stomping around like a toddler, one of my finer qualities, and Barry offered me his rain gear. My biggest fear was getting wet and then getting cold, so I accepted. After I put on the rain gear, the ranger pulled up to us in his truck. We asked him about the trail conditions, and I was half inclined to ask him for a ride to Two Harbors. He told us that the conditions were similar to what we were experiencing here at camp, but that it was still safe to hike. The access roads, however, weren't in great shape. He warned us that if we decided to proceed and something happened that required a rescue, it would take some extra time to get someone out to us. Our choice. We could wait it out, or we could keep going. We could keep going, or we could get a ride. We decided to keep going and passed on the ride. As we made our way out of the campground, the rain had stopped and the clouds broke. I was wearing the rain gear for approximately 20 minutes before I took it off again. Between the midnight wake-up run and this morning's costume change, I was frustrated and cranky. I lifted my head to check out the views. There was a path that looked like it was going straight up. No switchbacks to make this climb any easier, just straight elevation gain. The grade of the trail plus the soft, rocky terrain felt unstable at best. I struggled to keep my feet underneath me, each step squishing and twisting at the end of the stride. Every step felt like a little more effort than the last. Shifting down a gear, Barry shouted back to me. I giggled inside. Would this ever get easier? I keeled over with my hands on my knees, trying to catch my breath and give my legs a rest. Proud of you, Barry called out. Proud of me too, I shouted back. I continued climbing up the ridgeline of this peak, up and over pieces of white quartz peppered with pink-orange streaks. The entire peak consisted of this stone. It was breathtaking. I kept huffing, kept puffing, cresting over false peak after false peak. As my socks grated on open blisters like sandpaper, I started to cry. I paused to collect my thoughts. We had hiked almost 22 miles across the island at this point. We made it through the longest day, made it through a rainstorm, and we were still here. I was still here. I wasn't sure I would be able to do this, but I was doing it. I can do hard things, I whimpered. It felt like an admission, a confession even. For so long, I had been dumbing myself down, trying to find a box to fit into. More specifically, a smaller body to fit into. For as long as I could remember, I had been nitpicky about my body, uncomfortable in my own skin. In the months leading up to this trip, I had turned a corner. Instead of mindlessly scrolling and having a passive experience, I started to use social media intentionally. I stopped following things that made me feel bad about myself. I followed accounts that featured beautiful outdoor photography. I unfollowed brands that only showed me a thin, white standard of beauty and started seeking out body positive accounts, activists who celebrated women's of all shapes, all races, all abilities. As my feed diversified, so did my opinions of myself. When I was in the dressing room in Encinitas picking up gear for this trip, I asked myself how we got here. What happened that led me to stand in front of a mirror in a body that I didn't recognize? I didn't have the answers yet, but before I got on this trail, I had moved away from hating my body. Now I was simply indifferent, and after a lifetime of negative self-talk, indifferent was better than hate. I kept hiking through the pain. I can do hard things. I chanted this to myself with every step. It felt like a second wind. I can do hard things became my mantra up one of the toughest climbs of this trail so far. The rest of the hike from Little Harbor to Two Harbors was a mix of steep climbs, followed by super narrow stretches, slip sliding through muddy patches, and some of the most intense pain I had experienced yet on the trail. The combination of soggy socks and the mud that had accumulated on the bottom of my hiking shoes was oppressive. As we made our way into the final descent into Two Harbors, my muddy boots picked up loose gravel. It felt like my feet turned into cinder blocks, and once again, my legs were spaghetti. By the time we arrived in town, we weren't sure where to go. We took a left towards Catalina Harbor, and thankfully, a couple out for a walk noticed our backpacks and asked us if we needed help. They pointed us in the right direction and told us the camper check-in was on the dock. We limped our way through town, arriving at the Two Harbors dock to check in. I couldn't see a campground. Were we in the right place? I made my way to the little office and asked where the campground was. I pulled out my reservation paperwork and looked around again. The young man on duty showed me a map. The campground was another mile or so uphill. Nope, not interested, I thought. After the day we had, the idea of walking up further uphill to sleep in a soggy tent was not doing it for me. The next day, we planned to hike to Starlight Beach, out near the very edge of the island, then into Parsons Landing, our last campground on this journey. The last night was another remote beach campground. It faces the mainland, and we were looking forward to watching fireworks up and down the coast from the comfort of our campsite on the beach. I asked about the trail conditions for the last leg of the trail. "We'll make the call in the morning," he said. This was my first backpacking trip. I didn't know what that meant, and he could tell. "The trail is in a questionable condition," he continued. "Depending on how much rain we get tonight, it's possible that the trail won't be passable tomorrow. We'll make the call in the morning." Well, my body is in a questionable condition, I thought to myself. I thanked him for the information and went back out to talk to Barry. We had a couple of options here. We could make our way up to the campsite and hope it didn't rain. Our gear was already soggy from the night before, and my legs were completely exhausted, so I wasn't jazzed about that option. We also had these little camping cabins and a community kitchen back behind the restaurant. Nothing fancy, just two beds with plastic coated mattresses, a door that locks, and a fridge. With your cabin reservation, you also had access to the showers. I was really honest about how I was feeling and how much pain I was in. I didn't try to sugarcoat it, and I didn't suck it up and ignore what my body was telling me. I was in excruciating pain between my blisters and sore legs, and Barry's knee was still bothering him from the descent into Little Harbor. Even if the trail was magically in pristine condition, I wasn't confident my body would be able to get me to the next campground. After a quick deliberation, Barry and I called it. We traded in our Parsons Landing reservations for a camping cabin in Two Harbors for 2 nights. We would celebrate New Year's with the locals and the other hikers attempting to complete this trail. We tossed our stuff in the room, and on our way to the showers, we ran into the couple that pointed us in the right direction. They were our neighbors. After a little small talk, I expressed my dire need for a shower, and we made a beeline for the bathhouse. After 4 days on the trail and in the worst pain of my life, the shower was absolute heaven. It was the longest I had gone without a shower since Adam died, and by the time the water warmed up and I stepped in, I felt like I was in an Herbal Essences commercial. I took tender care of my feet, making sure they were clean. As I stood under the hot water, I reflected on how far we had come. Just a few short days ago, I didn't know if I could do this. Standing here in this shower, I congratulated myself for hiking more than 26 miles of this trail. While I didn't finish it, I did know one thing. I love my body. I took this time in the shower to thank each part of my body that made this trek possible. I started with my feet, my poor, blister-covered feet. I thanked them for their service and apologized for thinking that standing at my standing desk was the same as breaking in hiking boots. I thanked my calves, my massive, swollen, tender to the touch calves, for driving me up ridge lines and keeping me steady. I've always loved my legs, and I thank them profusely. My legs hadn't worked this hard since I was on the rowing team at KU, and I was extra grateful for their ability to hang in there and keep me going. I thanked my shoulders and arms for the strength in carrying a very heavy backpack across an island. Finally, I touched my stomach. My stomach has been the source of so much anxiety and shame. I noticed towards the end of the trip that my pants were a bit looser. I had to sausage squeeze into the biggest pants that store sold for this trip, and by the end of it, they fit relatively comfortably. Instead of viewing my stomach as a mess that needs to be fixed, a part of my body that is unworthy of love and touch unless it's flat and muscular, like all of the athletes, models, and celebrities I admired growing up, I made a shift. I have long referred to my midsection as my gut in a negative way, like a beer belly versus intuition. In the shower, after this journey, after admitting to myself that I can do hard things, I apologized to my stomach. I apologized for demonizing this part of my body. I apologized to myself for how poorly I've spoken about myself, about my appearance, for placing so much worth on the appearance of one particular part of my body. I put one hand on my belly and one hand on my heart and cried hot tears in that hot shower. "I knew I could trust you," I said, looking down at my stomach. This thick, beautiful, powerful part of my body my gut, my intuition, my inner knowing, my center, has kept me safe and alive for my life thus far. It was worth celebrating, not criticizing. After I finished my shower, I took another good long look at myself in the mirror. I love my body and I can do hard things. I returned back to our camping cabin where Barry was waiting for me. I felt refreshed, renewed, empowered, and proud. I was also a bit disappointed that we wouldn't finish the trail on this trip. To the bar, he shouted. We made our way down to the Harbor Reef Saloon, the bar attached to the Harbor Reef restaurant. As we scanned the menu, I saw a drink called Buffalo Milk. I remembered one of our skydiving buddies saying that buffalo milk was the signature drink of the island and that we had to get one when we got to Two Harbors, so we ordered 2 of them straight away. After 4 days on the trail, this drink was everything I didn't know I needed. It's frozen, and it tastes like a mudslide with some banana liqueur added in. Topped with whipped cream and freshly grated nutmeg, it's a dream. As we sucked down these delicious cocktails, trying our best to avoid a brain freeze, we scanned the rest of the menu. This place had a buffalo burger, a regular burger, and the Harbor Reef burger, a blend of buffalo and Kobe beef. Considering I turned this island into my litter box after the buffalo burger I had at the airport, I was hesitant. As if on cue, a server walked by with a burger, and my eyes followed that server across the bar to the other side where happy hikers were patiently waiting. I might have actually drooled because the bartender caught me staring down the server and told me that it was the Harbor Reef burger. I decided it was worth the risk, and we both ordered the Harbor Reef burger. My first buffalo milk was already down the hatch, so we ordered another round. When the burgers arrived, it was game time. I had been eating food out of a bag for the last 4 days, and I was ready for something fresh that didn't need to be rehydrated. That first bite of the burger was like the first moments of that shower. Absolute bliss. I was overcome with endorphins, and my eyes rolled all the way in the back of my head. Was this the best burger I've ever had, or is this how food tastes like after days on end of dehydrated meals? Probably a little bit of both. I looked at Barry. He was having the same experience. I paused and took it all in. We did it. We're going to have to come back here and do that whole trail. You know that, right? I said. Oh, for sure. As long as we can get these burgers again. Boom. So that's chapter 5. I can do hard things. And in the spirit of this, one of the things that I shared today on Instagram, there's just a lot going on in the world right now. And there's so much, there's just so many things to say. And I oftentimes feel like I'm not doing enough. But one of the things that I've learned in the last 4 or 5 years in particular, when it comes to doing work to dismantle white supremacy, for anti-racism and all that other stuff, is we have to take care of ourselves. We cannot be on all the time. If you talk to activists that have been doing this for a while, they will tell you that this work takes literal years off your life. And so while I haven't been doing activism for a long time, and I'm kind of new to the scene as far as being an advocate for diabetics and survivors of sexual assault, I can tell you that what is best for me is what's best for everyone always. And when I say that, I mean, I can't pour from an empty cup. If I need space, then you want me to have that space, because I can't show up as my full, authentic, most compassionate, most grounded self if I'm running on empty. If I run myself ragged doing this work, I don't help anybody, certainly not myself. So in the spirit of doing hard things, and what's best for me is what's best for everyone always, tonight I'm really excited to interview Brendan Clemente, who is a musician, a wonderful human being, and probably one of the kindest people I've ever met. So Brendan, welcome to the show. I'm so excited to have you. Thanks for joining us around the campfire.
Hey, there we go, off mute. Thank you so much.
There he is.
Yeah. I'm honored, and I'm nervous because we just have such good company, and it's just awesome to be on the show. Just seeing what you've put together is super inspiring. So,
well, thank you. And I got to tell you, there have been lots of times over the last probably 1.5 to 2 years where I'm new at this and I feel like I have to be buttoned up and super professional, or else people will find me out. And then I see one of your posts and you're like, hey guys, I've got 1,000 streams of this song, and that's awesome because everybody starts somewhere. And I was like, oh, everybody does start somewhere. So legit, when I put this together, Brendan Clemente's positivity and embracing his status where he is in his scene and his career, loving all of the new stuff, that was one of the biggest inspirations for me, because I've never done this before. I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm figuring it out every single day, and it's so much fun. So thank you for being here, and thank you for being such an inspiration to me as we're putting this stuff together and just trying to grow this organization. I really, really appreciate you and your energy. So thank you.
I can say this very same right back at you. I see your posts and you opening up about all of your experiences, and I'm just like, man, like I should not be so afraid to post these things about myself that I'm like self-conscious about and stuff. And like that's a constant journey. And yeah, I like you were talking about how you kind of cultivated your social media feeds to be ones that made you feel better. And I feel that when I look at my social media every day, seeing people like yourself out there doing what you do, it works every way, right? We all inspire each other. We're all influenced by each other. And it's really important who you're paying attention to.
Yeah, absolutely. So for those of us that, or for anybody watching who's not a member of the Brendan Clemente music family or a big fan, would you mind introducing yourself and telling us a little bit about who you are, where you currently live, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, so my name is Brendan Clemente. Surprise, Brendan Clemente is the most original name I could come up with for my for my music. I grew up in New Hampshire, and I went to high school and college in New Hampshire before moving out to Southern California. And I really like found music in high school. I started playing guitar, and at a time where I had almost no confidence. I was not a cool kid in high school. I did nothing went the way I really wanted to in high school, and guitar and music were like these things that I could just come home to, and they didn't expect anything out of me. I was just I felt it, and I was able to pick it up and enjoy it every day, and it made me feel good playing. So I stuck with that, and when I moved to Southern California after college, I got more serious about it. I wanted to actually try and do something with music, and I didn't even know what. I didn't have a real plan or anything. I didn't know what I was doing, but I just kind of started getting my feet wet and trying different things. And I sucked for a really long time. I was like pretty bad. Like I had some really rough open mic nights, like, or I'd just like literally walk off the stage because I was embarrassed. I still get that nervous for shows. Like I'm super nervous right now. Um, but I learned that was about 10 years ago when I had first moved to Southern California, and I kind of slowly got used to things there. I found a band. We grinded for like 5 years, then we got to play California Roots Festival up in Monterey, which was like a dream for us. And then we had a rough time staying together. So after that, I didn't stop playing, but I stopped kind of putting myself out there because I knew I wanted to start my own music thing, but I had my identity kind of tied to the band. I was like, without this band, who am I? I'm this kid from New Hampshire. Like, what can I do? Why would anyone care what I have to say or what I do? And I started slowly kind of putting stuff out there, and it would get decent reception. And I finally garnered enough confidence to kind of go in and just be like, I'm gonna try and do this. I'm gonna make this happen. And my wife Samantha, who's sitting just off screen here, she was always like, she saw something in me that I clearly didn't see at all. Like she was always like, your music's really good, you can do this. And it took me years before I was able to even do anything with that. But I I basically started putting my own stuff out there. It got a little bit of momentum, and some people got I have a core group of people that really kind of care about what I'm doing and find inspiration in what I'm doing, putting my music out there. And I the past few years it's been crazy because I've started working with some people that just like my mind is still blown. Like that I had my most recent song I got to work on producing with Johnny Cosmic, who's a member of Stick Figure, and like Stick Figure was one of my main inspirations for even starting to produce my own music. so it's amazing to look back and see where I've come from. I still feel like I'm no one, and like I'm just at the very like bottom rung of the ladder, and I still have a long way to go. I think in a lot of ways that's really true, um, but some of the things I've gotten to experience just by putting myself out there and pursuing something that I love, um, it's incredible seeing how that's started to unfold, at least. And now, I guess I should say
So
now.
cool. I love that so much. And go ahead.
Oh, sorry. um, I recently, in the last 2 years, my wife is from Minnesota, so we relocated from San Diego over to Minnesota, where we live in St. Paul, and obviously that's a place right now that's just at the kind of the epicenter of one of the saddest, craziest weeks I think a lot of us have seen for a while, maybe in our lifetimes. Um, we're staying a little outside the city with family because the threat of the protests going on was starting to move pretty close to our house, and you know the dangerous part of it as far as the burning and stuff like that. So we're staying safely with some family a little outside the cities now, but that's where we currently reside, and I have my little home recording studio in our basement that I do everything out of.
I love that. And tell me a little bit about, because I remember you had recently shared a story about a teacher that encouraged you to keep going with music, or did they tell you that you weren't good? I can't remember which one it was, but it was like the end result was like Brendan keeps doing music, but I don't remember what the influence was. Would you mind sharing that story with us?
Yeah. So basically, I've had what I've kind of learned to I don't know if you want to call it like mental gymnastics, but like I'm at a point where I'm trying to be taught by anything that happens positively or negatively in my life to make it have a positive, no matter what happens, to take a positive out of it. So, I like to, one of my favorite teachers that I like to talk about. I don't think this is what you're referencing, but I think it's, sorry, we got a puppy here, Lucy Sky Diamonds. um, I don't,
Hello.
one of my favorite teachers of all time was a college roommate of mine, who used to listen to me sing down the hall in the little house we had in Keene, New Hampshire. And he would come in and he'd be like, "Man, you're pretty good at guitar." He is like, "But your voice just is terrible. You are not a good singer." And I would like try and like, I would get all red when he said that. And I'd be like, "Well, you know, Bob Dylan wasn't the best singer," or something. And he would be like, "Yeah, but he had something going. You just don't have any of that." um, and, and so like at that time, it seemed like the most negative thing in the world. Like I probably didn't sing for 6 years after that because I was just like, I am a terrible singer. I don't have a voice that anyone wants to hear. That was objective. That was clear. Like I should not sing. And and basically like I'm at a point in my life where like I take stuff like that and I'm like, you know what? Like I don't have the best voice. I don't have the strongest voice. I'm not the best guitar player. I'm not the best at anything, but I seriously love what I do, and I feel this music in me that I know I have to get out to the world. And I think that the lesson that I take from that, looking in hindsight, is like everything in our life, every single event that happens to us, you know, it could be the worst looking event in the world. If you find strength through that and you like find a way to turn that into the story about how you become a better person and make the world a better place, if you can like find that and just get in the habit of training yourself to believe that every rough thing that happens is going to help you out and push you forward and push other people forward. And like, if you share that story, that you can inspire others. um I I try and view everything that happens, and I'm friggin' far from perfect. I have days where my wife will tell you I'm like super down, and I'm just like, man, like this is not going the way it's supposed to be. But I usually, after a little reflection, if you get into the habit, you can kind of start really finding that power to turn negative events into positive ones. And I've also had a lot of positive teachers. There's that whole part of just someone encouraging you and being there for you and telling you you can do what you want to do. And that, I think that they both have their place, but like the real strength is in taking the negative teachers in your life and learning from them just as you do someone positive.
Yeah, that's a big one. And that's a perfect segue into like how our careers, I feel, are kind of on the same like track and trajectory as far as what we're doing and what we're feeling about what we're doing. Because for me, with writing a book, I had somebody the other day tell me that I am not I won't be taken seriously if I ever want to publish traditionally because I started by self-publishing, which to me sounds like if you told an indie artist that they would never be successful on a label because they released an EP. And we all know that that is 100% not true. So how do you like what's your vision for your career? What's Brendan's dream scenario? Like, what's the label you want to be with? What does this look like for you? And how can we like, let's put those vibes out in the universe and then get everybody that's watching that to like believe in that and help it make it happen. Because I see no reason why you shouldn't have everything you've ever wanted musically, because I think you're a wonderful talent and a really nice person.
Wow. Thank you. That's way too nice of you. I my dream. It's funny when you said that about like about how someone giving you feedback like that, and like, you know, back to my roommate in college, and one of my first bandmates, who is, I would give him the credit that I would not be where I am without him, because he showed me so much about music and about being taken seriously and about doing it not as like, oh, this is my side hobby, but like really putting your time and effort into it and putting that work in to build a foundation. But he also, this is my boy Cole. Big shout out, Cole, if you're watching. He's one of my bandmates in the Stir Crazies, which is the punk reggae band I was in Southern California. But he like, one of the things is he did always like kind of talk about how like we only had this many years to make it. You know, he was like, we can't do it after this age, or if we haven't made it by this point, like we're done because the markets don't care anymore. And that was always like a really limited thought to me. I was like, I think if you do something that you care about and you convey that in a way to other people that relate, I feel like it doesn't matter. You could be 95 years old, you could be 105 years old. It doesn't really matter. If
Right.
you're putting that inspiration out there, you can do this. Um, so that when you said that, that just reminded me of that. But I guess my dream, like it's crazy looking on paper. And the weird thing about dreams for me is, I mean, if you had asked me 5 years ago what my dream was, it would have been to be working with Stick Figure and Ineffable Music, because they're just, it's an artist and a record label that I love and respect and have looked up to for the longest time, and like why I started. And when I when I look at the fact that I was lucky enough to work with one of the musicians and producers, Johnny Cosmic, that I look up to, like, as a person, as a musician, as a producer, as all these things. Like, he's just like one of those like shoot for the stars goals. And Ineffable is the record label I've wanted to work with. So I got to work with him and release a song on with them like recently. I like Samantha, my wife, had to tell me, she was like, you realize that like 5 years ago when you started talking about producing your own music, you said it would be awesome to work with Stick Figure someday, but I don't really want to like ask them for a favor. I want to be decent enough that they come to me and are like, hey, we want to work with you. We want to do stuff with you. And that's exactly what happened. And I didn't even realize that I had said that until my wife reminded me. She was like, you realize like one of your biggest dreams just came true. And I was like, wow, yeah. Like it was like,
you're like, oh shit, I've been working so hard. Yeah.
Exactly. It's like I was so focused that I didn't even like fully process. I don't think I've fully processed it right now. But I guess the ultimate like dream, like that was my dream when I started. The ultimate dream is to just get my music to as many people as possible. I want to, and not in the way like I want to market it good enough that it gets to everyone. I want to make songs that resonate enough with people that people just want to listen to them. Like it's something that millions of people around the world can listen to and find what I found in music. Like when I would, when I would not get the person I was trying to date in high school or whatever the situation, music has always been like the thing I'd go home and cuddle up with, and just like it was always there for me and a part of me. And I want my songs to be those songs for other people. And I mean, hopefully everyone can find the person they want to be with and actually get with them. But for the person that can't, there's going to be a love song in there that they listen to, and like I did, and I just like I feel it. And I think that that like personal element of what music has been to me, that's kind of what I hope my music does for someone else. When you just hear the song that you go, oh yeah, like I want people to have that reaction, and on the biggest scale possible.
Yeah, that's how I feel about my writing and with this book. Cause like the gal that told me that I won't ever be taken seriously as an author if I'm not traditionally published first, I was like, so is this not real then? Like, is this not a book? Because it looks like a book to me. Like just because it wasn't made like I was just like, I don't know that I agree with that. Like, and for me, this book was so important for me to get out of my body, to get out of my brain, to get out into the world for the same reasons that you say about your music. Like, do I want this to be a New York Times bestseller? You bet your buns I do, because that means that a bunch of people have read it and that it's making a big impact. Do I want it because I want to be filthy rich author? Money is not my motivator. It never has been. I'd like to have enough to build the retreat center. I'd like to have enough to like keep a roof over our heads and healthy food in my belly so I can keep my diabetes at bay. But that's really about all I need. So my desire is more to help people, because this is the book that I needed 10 years ago. Like the songs that you're writing are the songs that helped you throughout your life. Like that's the same thing for me in my book. So I think for anybody watching who has a dream, whether that's music or writing or speaking or any kind of creative endeavor, we can really hold ourselves back if we keep measuring ourselves against these standards, which are like other famous people who are doing what we want to do. Like Stick is a good example of somebody, like he inspired my journey, and I'm not even a musician. When I found out that Scott did all of the instruments, did all the vocals, did all the production, does everything, that was 3 days after, or like 7 days after we got off the Trans Catalina Trail the second time. And I was like, I sat down, I re-listened to all of his music. I read all of the lyrics. I went from the oldest album to the newest album and read everything. And I was like, if this guy can do this for himself with music, who's to say that I can't do that for myself with Hiking My Feelings? Like, if he can go and make all of his dreams come true and build his own studio and find a label that digs what he's got going on, where it seems like he still has complete and total creative control, why can't I do that for myself as an author? Like, why am I waiting for validation from a literary agent or a publishing house or whatever else? Because like, that was the route I went at first. And I fought about this book. I fought about 3 sentences for 2 months because they wanted me to change the language, to the point where if I had taken those edits, this book would have been a work of fiction versus my real life story. And it was in that moment where I was like, what am I waiting for? Like, just because this has this fancy logo on my book, like that doesn't actually make it better, because if the book isn't what I want it to be, then it's not going to make the impact that I want it to make, regardless of who publishes it. So I think for anybody listening, like, if you have big dreams, take inspiration from the people that are making it work, because they are evidence that it can be done. And also discover your own measuring stick. Like, what do you want to do and what kind of impact do you want to make? Because everything that I've seen on your career so far, Brendan, is exactly that. Like, you are embracing every step of this journey and bringing all of us along for the ride. And I can't think of a better way to build a foundation of a fan base, of a group of people that resonate with your music, who will be your team to like help you get this out there. Like, the way that you've done it from a marketing perspective, because that's been my game for the last 10, 15 years, you're crushing it. Like, you're doing everything you need to do. And if you're having fun, then great. And the more people that find out about it, the better. But I feel like the energy that you have behind everything that you're doing, especially in realizing that one of your biggest dreams just came true, and you're like, oh yeah, one of my biggest dreams just came true. Like, that humble grind is like, that's what makes greatness, right? Like, that's what makes diamonds out of nothing. And I'm so inspired by you and everything that you're doing, and how you've created this wonderful community of people that really truly get you and your mission with your music. And I'm just like fangirling a little bit on your process right now.
Well, as you say that, I'm looking at all the people on this Zoom and on this YouTube cast that you're doing right now. I mean, that's exactly what you're talking about. And it seems like the classic, like, old school kind of like gatekeeper, well, you didn't do it the traditional way, and this is why you're not gonna, it doesn't matter. Like, and the people that are kind of current with stuff, like, you're an inspiration in how open you are. Like, I look at, like we were talking about a little earlier, like, I look at your posts and stuff, and your writings, and just how you say things. It's talking to someone real. You are a real person. People relate to you because you share experiences that are genuine and that connect with people. And like, that authenticity is what attracts people, because we all have those shortcomings. We all have things that we feel self-conscious about. We all have things that we don't think we can do. And like, when you're honest about that journey, and like, hey, I'm not the best, I'm not that great right now, but I'm who I am, and I'm striving for these things. I think that people like to be a part of that. And to that, to that person that told you that, to the people who told me like, your voice just sucks, it's not gonna cut it, like, that's great, that's your opinion. But if you have enough people that care about what you're doing, it doesn't matter. The leverage is with you, because once you have enough people that care about what you're doing, that's going to be the person that calls you in 3 years and goes, oh, hey, like, I saw you're doing awesome. I know we talked a few years ago. Like, would you like to like come do a book deal now? Because we know you can sell 1 million copies. Like, that's how that pans out. And I like I think there's a lot more authenticity and a lot more merit to doing the slow climb. It's not something I like talk about much, but I guess I kind of feel it in my own journey. I'm like, every person, like, I'll get like one person in a day, they'll message me and be like, I love your song. And I'm like, that's awesome. And like, connecting with one person at a time and just slowly building up to something real, rather than just like an avalanche of like, okay, now you're famous and this is who you are. I think if you get to actually follow the journey slowly, then I think it's going to be sustainable, and you're not going to go, crazy and lose yourself along the way. At least that's what I tell myself. I hope
Yeah.
that's.
Yeah, same. But I think there's a lot of truth to that, and also, when people do have a meteoric rise, right? Like, what we never hear about is the behind the scenes. What we don't hear about is the struggle. We don't see the 10 years of work that goes into getting to the top of the charts or whatever. So I think, in the spirit, and I think that's one of the reasons why I connect to you and your music so much, is just that I know Brendan the human as much as I know Brendan the musician, based on what you share as your journey. So when it does come to like the meteoric rise, then I'm just going to be like, it's going to be so fun to look at Facebook memories, and you'll be like, oh my God, like, look at my life, I'm crushing it, because you've been sharing along the way and getting everybody excited about it. Like, I think I'm in total agreement that the slow burn is a great sustainable way to go, albeit it's really hard to keep going. So you've been doing music for a hot minute now. Like, what keeps you motivated to get to the point where you were able to produce with Johnny Cosmic and release a song on Ineffable? Like, that's a journey. How do you keep going when because from what I understand, you're not doing music full time, but you're treating it like it is your full-time thing. And I think maybe that could be part of the difference. But what keeps you motivated?
Now I would say now it's easier because I still have the same downs now that I had 10 years ago. I mean, like my wife has the biggest insight into this in the world. I'll go down in the basement and record something, and I'm just like, that's trash, sucks, never gonna use it. And she like, this is how I talk about what I do. And she's like, no, she's like, I think that sounds pretty cool, and that could be the beginning of something cool. So I think for me, it's not getting rid of those doubtful thoughts. For me, what I've seen over, because for whatever, I hesitate to say lucky, but for whatever reason, I kept doing it as long as I did, even though it seemed crazy and like it was never going to work. I would get wins when I least expected them, just by staying in the game and by continuing to try and work toward that thing. And sometimes the wins come when you least expect them, but they always, if you stay in it and keep pushing forward, they always come. And as I'm saying this right now, I've been in a period the last week where I've been so depleted emotionally that I've it's crossed over, like the events of the world have crossed over into me personally and my motivation. And I've just been like, I don't feel like I've connected with anyone meaningfully this week. I just feel like everything is chaos and I'm so sad and hurt, and like I didn't really accomplish much this week. And like but what I was going for is, over the years I've noticed that if you keep pushing forward and keep moving on with that good intent and taking the actions daily, things will come your way, and you just have to keep doing it. And so now I at least consciously, or I know that enough that I just keep pushing forward. But the reason I did it in the first 5 years, I don't know. Like I was so close to giving up so many times, and to just, I mean, I talked about earlier, the open mic night, the first open mic night I went to in California, I walked in the room with my guitar and I heard one person sing, and it was like one of the most talented people I've ever heard in my life. And I walked out of there. I was like, I'm done with California. I'm done with music. Obviously, that person's way more talented than I'll ever be. So what right do I have to be up there? Um, and just by staying in the game, by trying to do good things for people and trying to work toward these goals that I have, just doing that consistently every day, it's a slow haul, but if you do it long enough over time, you will keep having wins and you will be able to get to where you want to go. And the fact that so my mom is one of the people on this Zoom, Margot Clemente. The T in it is silent for those on Zoom here. But she, not to like be too sappy with the mom shout out here, but like I clearly remember for when I was a kid, like she would literally tell me that I could do anything I wanted. And I never believed her. I was like, you don't understand, Mom. I'm 5'3". Like I'm not really that great at anything that I'm doing. Like I just had a lot of hangups. But somewhere that stuck in my subconscious, like some small piece of my mind actually took that message. And when I was like 25, it was like that voice kind of came in. It's like, hey, you can still do this. It doesn't matter. Like, you're supposed to have a real job and career and stuff. You can do this too. And I think that part of the reason is just because I was programmed by my parents to believe that I could do what I wanted from an early age. And that's part of the reason I was able to kind of stick in, I think.
Yeah, that's a big one. And I grew up with that too. And I wonder, so how old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
34, getting up there.
Okay, same. So yeah, so then I wonder if that's like our parents were like, well, my parents said I couldn't do anything, so I'm going to tell my kids they can do anything they want. So because I grew up believing the same thing, and I think that and I had that behavior demonstrated for me too. Like my mom always, like she started as a candy striper volunteer at a hospital in Kansas, worked her way like all the way up on the administrative side of things. And my dad just he had like 3 or 4 careers in the time that I was living at home. Like he was a walking example that you can do whatever you want. It's never too late. You can always pick yourself back up if it sucks. Like that behavior was very clearly demonstrated to me. And I think that that's a big reason why I've done all the things that I've done. Like my career path doesn't look like a straight line, but the through line has always been like marketing, storytelling, some kind of communications, whether it's skydiving or working with big like Fortune 500 companies or new brands or what we're building with Hiking My Feelings. It's always been around communications. And so I think that there's something really special, and thank you, Margot, for instilling that in Brendan so we can all benefit from it, because those songs that he's got inside him will certainly save somebody someday, I'm sure. I cried when we listened to Time for the first time. I was sitting down here at the Reggae Ranch, like we have this little outdoor pavilion with a stage and stuff, and we just put it on the speaker and we were listening, and I was like, I know what a big moment this is for you, and that's why I love the song. Clearly, it's terrific. And also being able to follow along with your journey, like I feel invested in your music more than I do other artists where I just appreciate what they put out there, but like you're so open with your journey that we're all like rooting for you, you know what I mean? Like we want to see you do big things, and I think that's one of the coolest things.
That's I can't wait to play live at the Reggae Ranch. That's been
We're
on
ready.
that's
Come
been
on
on my
out.
list so long. I need to get back out. We're so bummed not to have our annual California trip this year. I can't wait to get out there, and I will definitely probably perform. The production. I mean, people aren't joking when they say that Johnny Cosmic is a magician producer. I mean, the production, like I promise you, I won't be as good live as that version, but I can promise to bring the authenticity and emotion.
I love it. Well, do you want to do a song and then we can chat some more?
Yeah, sure.
Let's do it.
As I'm picking up this guitar, by the way, just for everyone listening, like musicians, I'm sure they usually pick up the guitar and they're like super rehearsed and like ready to go. I haven't practiced this song that much. I just wrote it a little while ago and I haven't played live really ever with it. So the nervousness that I'm feeling, I hope that actually comes out here, because it's real. Like I'm sitting here supposed to be like the guest on this awesome show and stuff, and like I'm nervous as hell right now. I'm very very nervous, which so I'm kind of blabbing. So this is the song that Sydney was just referencing, called Time, and I wrote this year and was lucky enough to co-produce it with one of my musical heroes, Johnny Cosmic. Time, I know it's golden. All my life, I've been someone living high in the moment. Learn to smile before it's done. Take a breath and I close my eyes. Pack my bags and I say goodbye. Time to laugh and a time to cry. You don't know until you try. Time to love and a time to sing. Time to learn and a time to bring. Time to hurt and a time to heal. Lord, I know my time is real. Whoa, 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 whoa. Life is made of choices. In my mind, I dare to dream. Don't give way to other voices in your heart. Learn to see. Take a breath and I close my eyes. Pack my bags and I say goodbye. Time to laugh and time to cry. You don't know until you try. Time to love and a time to sing. Time to learn and a time to bring. Time to hurt and a time to heal. But I know my time is real. Whoa, 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 whoa. Take a breath and I close my eyes. Pack my bags and I say goodbye. Time to laugh and time to cry. You don't know until you try. Time to love and a time to sing. Time to learn and a time to bring. Time to hurt and a time to heal. Lord, I know my time is real. Keep your eyes on what you love. Keep your soul a step above. Keep your heart alive and see what this world of ours can be. Yeah, the time keeps moving on. Another day, another song. Find my life and I shall live. Yeah, this world's got much to give. Whoa. That's time. My wife is clapping.
Yeah, he did it, and we love
Michelle
it.
claps. Oh, Margot.
Very
Oh
nice.
man, Jess. We got claps everywhere. My wife is crying right now.
So many
I think
claps.
that's good. Either she's crying because she liked it, or because she's like, you just really blew it.
So good. And the Zoom's blowing up too. Everybody's like, yeah.
Thanks,
Oh my
Jess.
God. I love it so much. Yes. So good. And Jess is my new favorite cheerleader. She's like queen of like the pump up. Like I can't even, this chick.
Oh, I need
So
that. I
good.
love that.
Wow. So tell me a little bit about that song and like what was the process like writing it, and then like take us through the journey to where it became like, what was it like to hear it the first time after Johnny produced it?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it's funny because I was having one of my insecure moments as a musician in I think it was like December 28th last year. And I said, I haven't released anything for a long time. I think people completely forgot anything about what I was doing. And I feel like I'm completely off track on my goals. And I said, so I have to do something that gets people involved again. So I said, you know what? I'm going to challenge myself to write a song from beginning to end. And I'm going to write it, I'm going to record it, I'm going to produce it, and I'm going to release it all in 7 days. And that was like a challenge to myself, who I'm a pretty amateur producer. That's like, I don't know exactly what I'm doing. So that's like a big challenge. But I said, you know what, even if it sucks, at least I can say, hey, you were here for the journey. Like you saw me try and do it and I failed. And so I just set out on like, I think it was on a Monday, I started writing it. And the lyrics and chords kind of came to me pretty quickly. I just started writing under pressure. And I was thinking about, I'm kind of a nostalgic person, like memories are big for me. And I have this view of the past. It's always kind of rosy, even if they weren't good times. I just like respect them. And I look back on them like, man, it might not have been a good time, but it feels good now thinking about that time for some reason. Like I just always kind of have that like stuff in the past seems cool. for some reason to me. And I was like missing all these good times that I'd had over the years. And I started kind of trying to write about like time as it's passing, and like the lyrics, like time, I know it's golden. Like even right now, like I'm cognizant right now that this moment where I'm nervous for this Zoom call and like where all these people are looking at us and stuff, I know that in 3 years I'm going to look back on this and be like, that was so cool, and I'm going to be like nostalgic about it, and that was such a fun part of the journey. And that's how I am like about almost everything that happens. And I was feeling that. So time, I know it's golden. All my life I've been someone living high in the moment, learn to smile before it's done. What I mean by that is I'm always aware that like in the best of moments, I'm present there, and I'm like, I can look at that moment at that second and go like almost take a snapshot and be like, I know I'm gonna really love this time someday. And like, so that was kind of what I wrote the song about, just like watching time pass over time. um so that came together. But honestly, so I like had the lyrics and the chords, but as a songwriter, it's a lot different to write a song than to produce a song. So I tried recording this song, and by Wednesday I was like, I'm gonna be posting on Sunday and it's gonna say, sorry that this doesn't sound that great, but you were along for the journey. Because I just it was sounding too bare. It like wasn't really sounding complete. The recording didn't sound good. I can listen enough to my own recordings. I know what I like to hear, and I wasn't hearing it. I was just like, this doesn't give me the vibe I want. So on I think it was Thursday that week, so it would have been the fourth day I was writing the song, I sat down at the piano and I had like a couple beers, and I was just like kind of frustrated. And I started just jamming on the piano along with what I had recorded on the guitar and vocals. And almost immediately, I just found this like piano part that like really sounded good. And I was like, I stopped when I listened, and I was like, whoa, that sounds pretty cool. Like I get excited. I was like, that sounds kind of awesome. And I got psyched, and I put the piano part down and did some harmonies on the vocals. And I was excited enough about it the next day to post it to Facebook. And I posted it to my Facebook, to my like Facebook group for my music, and a bunch of people commented, and like they were, like I said, I got the vibe when I listened to it. I was like, there's something cool here. And a bunch of people responded that way. And one of the people was Johnny Cosmic from Stick Figure, who um I'm so he's a member of the band Stick Figure. Yeah. And he commented on it and was like, that's awesome or something. And I was like, cool. And I didn't think anything of it. I was still ready to release it the next week. I was like, this sounds kind of cool. It's actually going to be fun. And he messaged me the day before I was going to release it. And he said, hey, man, I really love that song you post on Thursday. I've been listening to that 1 minute snippet or whatever over and over. He's like, do you mind if I collaborate with you on it? And this, imagine a member of your favorite band asking you if you're okay if they collaborate with you. I tried to like play it cool. I was like, oh yeah, sure, bro. That sounds good, when I'm really like, shit. What happened? I remember showing the phone to my wife, and I was like, Sam, Johnny just messaged me. He wants to collaborate. But so the next thing, I sent him the song stems I had like Monday or Tuesday that week. And when I sent him the song, I still didn't believe it in my head that it could actually happen. So I basically I told myself, I was like,
hang on a second. This is so great. You're like, you know what? I'm sending it, but this might not happen. He might be kidding. God bless you, Brendan. I love you.
I was like, I never have expectations, because I'm prepared. I like to be prepared for anything that could happen. So I said to myself, it is like, this is way too big. It's totally cool if he writes you back. And I actually expected he would like email me back like a couple days later and be like, yeah, you know, I listened to it. It's not really what I thought. And I don't have a lot of time right now. And not like being like a bad person, but just like he wasn't interested anymore, you know, like, and I just fully expected that to happen, because I was like, there's no way that I will actually have a collaboration with this person that I love and respect so much. And what was it, 12, I think about 12 hours after I sent it the song, it was the next morning. And I, like you said, I have a day job. I was in a Zoom meeting at work. and I work from home. So I was in the Zoom meeting, and I get an email from Johnny. He's like, hey, in a message, and he said, hey, I messed around with it. I think it's sounding pretty cool. Take a listen. And just like 12 hours later, he told me he stayed up all night working on it. He just like stayed up all night, put together this entire song. And so obviously I'm in the middle of this like important meeting with my company, and I just hit the mute button, turned the video off, and put the song on. And I hope my work boss isn't listening right now. He's a good friend of mine too. But I listened to it, and I just my jaw just hit the floor. It was the song that I had put together, but it sounded like a professionally produced song, which I don't know how to make songs sound like that. Like I can like put a decent song together, but he made it just like radio ready, like just beautiful, and added a guitar solo and percussion and bass, and I was blown away. And from then on, I kind of said to him, hey man, like, I just want to make sure like you get all the credit you're due. Like, what can I do for you? Like, I just want you to get a lot of credit for this, because you made this real. Like, and he goes, well, he's like, I got a special plan for it. Wait a second before you think about releasing it. And like 2 hours later, Ineffable Records, which is Stick Figure's record label, that I have an email from their president, Thomas, and their VP of marketing and label services and stuff, Adam, and they're like, hey, we'd love to drop this song with you, collab with you. Do you want to drop it on Ineffable? Again, like me trying not to sound too eager, but like, yeah, that would be incredible. And I do want to give a little like disclaimer, because I feel like that story is super exciting and stuff. It is super exciting, but I've known Johnny and been like friends with Johnny for like 5 years. So what I don't want people taking is that like, oh, you post something to Facebook and your dreams can just come true. And that can happen too. I don't want to discount that can happen, but this was not like totally random. Like I've been friends with John for a while, and this was just cool because it felt like my songwriting had gotten to a point where he was interested in working with me. And that was like what this really taught me. And that like I had something ready. Like when I was ready, I think he sensed that. He heard something in that he was like, okay, like I love RAINN, like he's a good guy or whatever. That was his cue that like I was doing something like that he could be interested in. I think that's what happened. So I just want to make sure people know it's not like just a random like, hey, this like great thing happened. The reason it happened is because of all the work I put in the last like 10 years, you know?
Yeah, well, and that's an important thing to note too, because, and I don't think that should discourage anybody. I think, in fact, that should encourage people, because the idea of like being discovered and getting a record deal, and then like it all goes so swimmingly and it's all like stars and rainbows and unicorns and stuff, like that does happen, but does it really? Because again, we don't always hear about the struggle or the hard work that's gone in behind it. We just see their face in Times Square and now they're famous and they've got a #1 hit or whatever the case may be. Like I think that's encouraging, because like the idea of being discovered doesn't really exist. Like you have to work really hard and work smart and network and be kind and grind when it's hard and sacrifice a lot to make this kind of magic happen. So I think it shouldn't be. I think it's encouraging because like the idea of being discovered isn't readily available to everybody. But if you want it bad enough, and if you work hard enough, and if you are driven enough, and if you keep going, to your point earlier, then this kind of thing can happen. I saw a really cool cartoon the other day, and it was two people, it was like a top and bottom, and it was like they were like chipping away in this, like they were like digging a tunnel or something, and there were people, like the top picture, like the people kept going and they got to this like treasure, and then this guy got here, and it was like he only had to chip like this much more to get to this like treasure chest in this tunnel. And it's like, you never know how close you are, so don't quit unless you like absolutely have to, because if you want it bad enough, it could be like this far away. And it sounds like, based on everything you just said, that you've been friends with Johnny, you've been networking, you've been a kind person, you show up, you take the opportunities that come your way. And when you were ready, he was like, Brendan's ready, let's go. Like, take it, let's make it happen. That's awesome. And I think that's something that everybody can aspire to, because that's accessible. Being discovered is not accessible, that's luck. But working hard, that's opportunity and being prepared. So good on you.
And I mean, again, just to draw a parallel to like what you're doing in this year, like I remember talking to you a couple of years ago in San Diego at 710 when K-Bong was playing, you know, and like so many of the, like I'm sure even like this event that you've put together and the retreat and everything, like that you were putting in work at that point. You didn't exactly know what was going to happen. You didn't know exactly what would come along the way, but there are just, if you keep working and keep making the connections, you know, I love that quote. I'm going to paraphrase it, but it's like, looking back, it's easy to connect the dots, but going forward, it's not always that clear. Your journey is kind of like, oh, okay, like what's, you know, there are all these different things happening and stuff. So I think that's huge.
Yeah, I think it's a big one. Do you have another song you'd like to play for us?
Yeah, and this is so this is an even less polished song, and it's one, this one hasn't been released. I just I recorded it live a few weeks ago on some socials, but I think it's going to be called All Love, and hopefully if I forget the lyrics and just keep strumming or something, just go along with it, try and enjoy it.
We'll be here.
Thanks. Sometimes I'm crazy like the wind. Sometimes I'm lonely like a heartbreak. I find this world we're living in goes in circles like it started. I read a book today that said, ooh, live your life and find your reason. When I asked her what she meant, said it's all soul under the season. Yeah, the sun will rise again. Yeah, the world keeps turning. Thoughts within our head keep on burning. Place we used to know keep on changing. Memories remain. Fill our pages with love. Love, love, love. It's a love. Love, love, love. crazy like the wind. Sometimes I'm lonely like a heartbreak. I find this world we're living in goes in circles like it started. But the sun will rise again. Yeah, the world keeps turning. Thoughts within our head keep on burning. The place we used to know keep on changing. Memories remain. Fill our pages with love, 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 love. It's all love, 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 love. It's all love, 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 love. It's all love, it's all love, 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 love.
Woo! I hear Samantha's clapping in the background.
Oh man, that one's definitely a little newer and rawer. I was like consciously thinking of the next line as I was singing it, trying to make sure I remembered it.
I love it. Oh, that's so fun. And so is what was the inspiration for that song?
So that song, again, to like that, I've been trying to put songs together in shorter periods of time because after Time was released, I I got enough positive feedback on it. I kind of realized the power of the creative constraints of putting like a very limited time frame on something. So I kind of challenge. I didn't like do a public challenge again, but I challenged myself. I was like, I have to finish a song in this weekend, and I basically came up with the lyrics and the chords in like 2 days. Like it was a Saturday and a Sunday, and I recorded it and just like kept the idea down. And I'm gonna be recording that one soon, and that one's basically about like just it's about not being like it's about kind of me looking at myself and like saying I'm like in a good way, like I'm not special. Like I had this cool thing happen. I love what's happening right now and like I'm stoked about it, but um like I still have a lot of ups and downs with everything, and like just kind of taking myself seriously as a person that struggles up and down, and that has a ton of faults and that does a lot of stupid things a lot of the time. And it was kind of just about that, and realizing that that's all part of just going through your existence, going through life. Like we all have that stuff. Sometimes I'm crazy like the wind, sometimes I'm lonely like a heartbreak. Like I feel it all. I do. And you know, it's just like a range of emotions that I feel like we all kind of live with.
Yeah, agreed. I like that's why there's one. What is there's another song. It's like, um, it's the other one. It's on SoundCloud, and it's something about like see yourself. Is that a song that
Oh,
you wrote? Is
meet
that what it's called?
yourself.
Or see myself?
Maybe meet yourself.
Meet yourself. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Like that song and this one you just played, that's definitely the vibe that I get from that. Is like, it's just like, I think that's why I connect to your lyrics so much, is it's just like, it's real life stuff. And not, I feel like, and there's a lot of people that use lyrics intentionally, and most of them I've tried to invite on this show because I love that.
I think
But I
got
think
a
that that's
lot.
just one of those things, like it comes through, yeah, it comes through so clear, just how intentional you are with the songs. And I'm sure that most musicians are, but I feel like lyrically, that's definitely a thing. So what's your life been like musically since COVID? And what, like, were you supposed to be at Cali Roots this year? I know you played with Kyle last year. Like, what's been happening for you as a result of quarantine and lockdown and the music scene just kind of going like on the live side of things?
Yeah, it's one on the like first end. It's just it sucked like seeing all my friends who work so hard and grind at this and that just put their entire lives into it, and like touring is a huge part of that, of especially the financial model. Like it's tough to until you're pretty big or decent size, it's tough to make a good living off streaming revenue and stuff. And so just like seeing the communities and festivals like Cali Roots, I mean, that's a huge festival, but I mean, they're, you know, right now they're like their livelihood literally couldn't happen. Like their festival didn't happen this year in May when it was
Yeah.
supposed to. Like it's rough seeing that stuff. But personally, I'm a weird musician because I've like gone like the really, I think kind of unique route. I don't want to say it's too unique, but like I have a day job. Like I've worked every year that I've been a musician. For me, it was never, it's just not my personality to like, it didn't work for me personally to go all in and to do like I saw my musician friends who would grind for 10 years in a van, and they, you know, have these crazy, I had lots of fun times and everything, but like lots of rough times. And like one of the biggest themes of, I think, my own career is persistence. Like I haven't always been the most on top of everything. I haven't capitalized on as many opportunities as I should have, but I've kind of been like the turtle in the race. Like I've just been around like long enough. Like I just keep pushing through. Um, so for me, I have like my day job that I've always had, and so for me, honestly, like I love playing live shows, and I can't wait to play live shows and tour when it's possible. But my whole plan with it was more like I'm kind of a recluse person too. I like sitting in my basement and producing music. I geek out on that, and so it's oddly been like a fairly comfortable situation for me because I'm basically doing the same thing that I was doing um, before the whole pandemic happened. And I kind of plan to keep on doing that until I have like enough momentum built up that I can like kind of comfortably tour and know that people want to come in each city and stuff. Like I'm kind of on the long, slow game to where I'm like, I'm going to keep releasing music that I hope really resonates with people online and keep building that. And I'll play shows here and there. But I'm not looking to really be like full time out on the road until it actually makes sense for me personally to do that. So it's kind of I'm looking at the next 10 years already, you know, I'm looking 10 years out, and I don't know if it'll take that long, but like that's where I'm at. Just long, slow haul.
I love that. So where can people find you online, on Spotify, all the music stuff? I posted some links in the Zoom, but for everybody on YouTube that might not know you, where can they find you?
Awesome. Thank you. So on Spotify, just search for Brendan Clemente music. And I pronounced the Brendan there because Brendan is spelled a lot of different ways. Mine is Brendan. And then Clemente music. I'm on Spotify. I'm on iTunes, Apple, Pandora. Um, I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram as Brendan Clemente Music. And I'll post some links too, just so everyone can go, because I know my name is like not that one that's easy to like, oh, like Brendan Clemente is kind of an awkward name to type all the way out. But yeah, I'm on all those things. I hope that I hope that people do get there, and if if you enjoy it, feel free to like friend me on Facebook too, and reach out, because I'm really about um, personal relationships with people. Like I like knowing about who's listening to my music and what it's getting you through, or what it made you think of, and stuff like that. So the more personal, the better. It's like I hope, I'm pretty sure I don't come off as someone that like is super serious about themselves, and that like is not approachable. But in case I came off that way, like message me, reach out. I'm happy to talk to you, chat with you, whatever. I love it. Thank you, by the way, Sydney, for this
I
whole.
love that.
It's an honor to be a part of this, and I really can't wait to visit the retreat. I can't wait to have it all go in there, and to bask in it, and just enjoy it with all of you, and Barry too.
Yeah, well, we're excited, and Barry raised a beer and says, "Tell Brendan I appreciate the music." So he's off camera. He's cheersing you. Yep, there you go. Awesome. Well, Brendan, thank you so much. Everybody, make sure you follow Brendan at Brendan Clemente Music on all the things. And if you are on YouTube, we'll post some stuff in the notes after we get done broadcasting. And for everybody in Zoom, stick around. We are not going anywhere. So awesome. Thank you so much, Brendan. So for everybody at home, I want to show you what we're working on here for the Hiking My Feelings Wilderness Wellness Center. This is a view that I haven't shown yet. So this is phase 3 of construction. We're looking at this is as if you were standing at the bottom corner of the lot looking back up the mountain. So we have a bunch of different domes that you can see in the image here. So we are looking to build, for the first round of construction, is our the single dome with the deck, and then we'll build out additional platforms and domes as we raise more money. So the one that you see in the image there, that first one with the double doors, that's the community hub. So that's where we'll do all of our online programming. So stuff like this would be filmed from there. It will also serve as base camp for our in-person events. So if you're here for a workshop or a retreat or a backpacking trip or just a day hike, everything goes in and out of that dome as the community hub. So just wanted to show a little bit of the vision of what we've got planned for the place. So you guys can kind of get excited about where your dollars are going. And as a reminder for anybody that's not familiar, this whole event that we're doing right now, 80% of the funds will go to the construction of the Hiking My Feelings Wilderness Wellness Center, but we've set aside 10% of the funds raised for the American Diabetes Association and 10% for RAINN, which is the nation's largest anti-sexual violence organization. Both of those organizations are near and dear to my heart. We haven't gotten all the way through my book yet, but spoiler alert, I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes in September 2017, and it was a massive catalyst for change for me in my life. And the American Diabetes Association is on a mission to improve the lives of people with type 2 diabetes, type 1 diabetes, and pre-diabetes as well. So well over 100 million Americans in the United States are living with pre-diabetes or type 2. One of the facts and figures that they share is that equates to 49% of the US adult population. Nearly half of us are walking around here with blood sugar that is too high or on the verge of being too high to be healthy. So check out the American Diabetes Association. They have a great risk assessment test. Type 2 in particular can be largely influenced and reversed with lifestyle changes. So if you have questions, if you're feeling sluggish, next time you go to the doctor, get an A1C test. That will tell you where your blood sugar lies and if you're in a healthy zone or in a zone where you might want to start making some changes in your life. And RAINN, they operate the nation's largest anti-sexual violence organization, which includes their hotline. That's their primary service. So if you are a survivor of sexual assault, if you know a survivor of sexual assault and one or the other needs support in that, they have a great hotline. If talking on the phone feels scary and unsafe for you in this moment, they also have an online chat. So if you're sitting around thinking about that one thing that happened that one time and wondering if it was assault. If you're wondering about it, it probably was. So when you're ready to start processing that, if you need some support in that, the folks at RAINN are absolutely incredible. So we're really stoked to be partnering with them and sharing a little bit of the love of what you're sharing with us, with them, to help them keep their mission going. So without further ado, I'd love to introduce to you Vikki Otero. She is a member of the Hiking My Feelings family. We were lucky enough to connect via my friend Dan, who was in my improv class back in 2018. So Vikki, welcome. Excited to have you here.
Hi, I'm delighted to be here. Thank you very much for having me, Sydney. And thank you, Brendan, as well. It's an honor to share the stage with him too. So I'm super excited to be here, and yeah, looking forward to having a little chat.
Yeah, so I asked you if you wanted to be on this, and you were like, yes, of course, because you're amazing and supportive and we love you. And you said that this was your favorite chapter. So I would love to hear a little bit about how this chapter has impacted your life and some of the things that you've learned through the course of the programming that we've been doing together, just reading it, going through the reflection prompts at the back of the book, all that good stuff.
Yeah, well, first of all, I will tell anyone who's out there wondering, what's going on at the Reggae Ranch, or, whether this retreat center is, something useful. I have camped at the Reggae Ranch. I've been to a retreat at the Reggae Ranch with Sydney, and it's amazing. And the land is great. The retreat center is going to be great. It's already fabulous, and I've already gotten so much out of it. So I'm, very much in support of this effort. So I chose chapter 5, in part because it's after chapter 4. Well, there is some to that. Chapter 4 is about relationships and about love and partnership. And my last year has been the most difficult year of my life, involving the dissolution of my marriage and my divorce. And so when we were, as a community, going through the book chapter by chapter and, doing work in each chapter, when we got to chapter 4, I actually was not able to work anymore. It was too fresh, it was too raw, and it was too painful for me. And then I kind of shut down a little bit after that for a couple of weeks. And then I reread and rethought about chapter 5, and there was this revelation. So I know I can do hard things. I've always known I can do hard things, but I don't think I ever understood. Well, a friend of mine actually did say, quote, "Vikki, you've never given yourself enough credit." And there was this snap at one point with this chapter that I deserve credit. The word deserve is a very hard one for me to say. Yeah, it's hard for me to acknowledge that, to put this together. Like, I know I've done amazing things, but to internalize and feel like I'm a fantastic person who's worthy of a lot of praise is a thing that's hard for me to connect. And it's this chapter that has really helped me put it together. And then the other big thing, this is all very intertwined. There's a song that is on the radio these days called July. It's by Noah Cyrus and Leon Bridges. It's the one, if you don't know, the title has nothing to do with the lyrics. It's the one that goes, and by the way, Brendan, if you think you don't have a good voice, but I'm not supposed to be apologizing for things anymore, damn it. Anyway, it's the one that goes, oh no, I'm too bad. But it's a sad song about a breakup of, well, not even a breakup of a relationship. The chorus is, "I'm afraid of change. I guess that's why I stay the same." And between this chapter and that song, all of a sudden one day I said to myself, leaving my marriage was the hardest thing I've ever done in my entire life. And building up the courage to do that, And to finally say, I don't know what's coming. I mean, I haven't taken care of myself in a long time. And I am completely obliterating my entire vision of what the future looks like. And it's a thing that I need to do and I can do. And I did it. And so finally being able to give myself credit for that was something that this chapter really, really helped with. And the other thing I kind of was thinking about today, you know, when I was reflecting on the hard things that I have done and can do, and putting this together yesterday with what we did yesterday in the relationship chapter, which was very much fun and not as painful to me at all as the first couple times I went through it, in part because of our amazing guests. But you guys were talking about how people say, well, when you see the one, you know, and you talked about how you didn't believe that, and then you met Barry. And so I was thinking about the fact that finding rugby was like that for me. And playing rugby is one of the hard things I've done that I can be proud of, but that for many years I apologized for because I wasn't that good at it. And so with all of this stuff coming together with what Brendan was saying, what you've been saying, and like, I spent so long saying, if I'm not good at it, it's not worth doing, but I did it and it's great. And I want to just, you know, keep going forward and doing these things that I know I can do because I know I can do hard things.
I love that. And that's one of the things that I meant to say when I was talking to Brendan, because he kept talking about how like he's not the best singer, he's not the best guitar player. I'm like, oh, okay, well, you keep telling yourself that story, but also I'm not the best writer, and like I'm not like there are typos all up in this thing. Like I didn't catch them on the editing process. It is what it is. But like the book's out, it's doing stuff, it's worth it. And I love that you connected the dots between rugby and the way that you didn't own that part of your life and now you do, because that was very much the case for me with rowing at the University of Kansas. I was on the bench for most of the spring season. I got to race like twice, I think. And for the longest time, I didn't tell anybody that I was on the rowing team at KU because I never won a regatta and I didn't make the varsity team. So it's like, was I even on the team? Like, what was I doing? Just running around being a cheerleader while I was injured? Like, yeah. And also, that was a really important role. Like, that was a really important time of my life. It was one of the most rowing was the first place where I realized how much incredibly intense physical activity can help me clear my mind. Like that chapter gave me so much more than any medal that I could have possibly won or anything like that, like for winning a regatta. So I love that you're reclaiming that in the context of relationships too, because like that is one of those things. Like when you see something or when you do something or when you feel something, you just know. And that's how I felt about hiking my feelings when I had that realization. I was like, oh, this is a thing that like I can't not do this. And that's a very powerful thing. And when you were saying about when you decided to leave your marriage, you're like, I don't know what happens next, but I don't really care because it can't be what's been happening. That's right. A really powerful place to be too. That's so cool. I love that so much.
And the other part that's important about this, I think, for everyone to know, this idea that, I mean, exactly what you just said, you know, you never won a regatta, whatever. This idea that if it's, and I'm going to use the word failure, which is a word that I don't use anymore, but I did for a long time. Like, it, you know, if you failed, then what was the point? My marriage failed, you know, but it didn't. It right. ended. You know, and there were a lot of great things about it and a lot of things that I got out of it. And then in rugby, you know, there's a story that my dear friend Olivia and I have told over and over again, but through the work with Hiking My Feelings, again, the dots are connected. It was our last match of the first summer that I played. and she got tackled in the end zone, and I was right there. And if I had been a better player, she could have handed it off to me, and I would have scored an amazing try. But I wasn't. And at the end of the match, I was pretty much walking off the pitch and saying to her, I don't think I'm going to come back. You guys are literally better off playing a player short than playing with me. And she said, oh, just stop that. She said, how many rookies were here at the beginning of the season? And I said, about a half dozen. Very first practice, there were about half dozen, 8 new people that showed up. And then she says, and how many people are still here playing today? And I said, me? Yeah, I was the only rookie who stuck it out. And she said, that's right. We'll see you at practice on Monday. And for 10 years, I played in the front row where, people, that's a position that always plays because there are too few of them. And it's a tough position, man. Like, I'm a badass. I am a badass front row rugby player.
Yes, you are.
And I deserve that. And I deserve to say that. The other thing.
Yes, you do.
And I want to, yeah. Oh, go ahead. I'll go on all day.
Go.
So
I love it. Keep going. Okay, well then I'll go. So a quick story on that note. So Mindy and Tiffany yesterday, our guests for the Hiking My Feelings family section, when we were doing our hike with them, we co-hosted a hike in Seattle for Outdoor Journal Tour, Hiking My Feelings mashup time, and it was magic. And I was walking through the woods with them, and I don't remember what we were talking about, but it was one of these things where we were just like, we're going to yell and claim stuff. And I was like, I'm an author, damn it. And I was like, wow, that feels so good. Cause like, did somebody from a big publishing house, real fancy, like hand me my check with my advance? Did I get a 7-figure book deal? No. Am I a New York Times bestseller? No. But I was like, you know what? I wrote a book and I'm going to publish it and I'm doing it. I'm an author, damn it. And it felt so good. So if anybody's watching at home, if you're in our chat, if you're on YouTube, can you just like claim something for yourself right now? Like shout it out, yell it from a mountaintop, yell it in your living room, wherever you're at. Like this is so powerful to just like yell at the top of your lungs about something that you want to do. Like, Brendan, you're a musician, damn it. Like you released a song with your dream producer on your dream label. You're a damn musician. I'm an author. Like, I love this so much. Continue. I just had to share that story because like when you were like, I deserve it, I was like, yeah, you do.
Yeah, so I chose chapter 5 for reasons we've discussed. And after all of that, after I had committed to chapter 5, when you released the mantras, and today's mantra is what's best for me is best for everyone always. I bawled like a baby when I read that, and I might cry again while talking about it now. That is a thing that's very hard for me to internalize, and women in general to internalize, because there is so much pressure on us to subordinate our needs and to make sure everybody else is happy before we even think about our own happiness. I don't think, I have decades of success behind me. I've got, great grades in college and law school. I've got a law degree. I passed the bar on the first try. I don't practice law anymore, so don't ask me anything about it. And don't ask me for legal advice. That's for damn sure, all of you all out there. But I have these accolades that I can hang on my wall, and I have no idea what I want. And Hiking My Feelings has been part of this year of kind of figuring out not only, what I want is valid and legitimate. And there are some ways that I can kind of try to figure out what that is. And there's so the mantra is oversimplified in like general discussion as you can't love anyone if you don't love yourself. And that's not quite right. And that's
I'd agree.
yeah, it's not quite right, and it's not fair to you, to the individual, because you don't always love yourself, and learning to love yourself is an incredible process that I am still going through. And you know, a lot of the people who are watching are going to be like, oh, see, Vikki's always loved herself. Well, yes, and you know, I mean, you know, I've kind of known that you know, there's something good here. I know that, but I've never given myself permission to pursue or even think about pursuing the things that truly matter to me outside of any context that isn't externally defined. And that's what I'm learning to do now, that I'm in this incredibly fortunate position that I can, you know, do this work, that I can, you know, that I'm connected to you, that I'm connected to the improv community in Denver now, that I'm connected to, sorry, just my alert that Denver has a curfew.
Curfew. Yeah.
That you know, my whole wellness team, you and improv and therapy and my personal trainer and all of these people together are part of my team to work forward and figure out how to do this work and kind of how to get I'm not going to say where you and Brendan are. I mean, I'm in that place too, and that's another reason that I like chapter 5 and chose chapter 5, is that that's kind of where I am right now in my journey. I can do hard things. I know what it means. I'm learning that I'm learning what it means. I'm learning that taking care of myself is valid and important and useful and necessary to keep going forward and doing the good work that I know I can do. And I don't have to have it all figured out right now. You know, July is one song that inspired me in this conversation. Another one that came up when I was thinking about inspiring songs today is Alanis Morissette, Hand in My Pocket. I love that song. And it is all about, it's okay, you know, make your steps and nobody's got it figured out. And you do you, baby. You'll be all right. You'll be all right. And that's what I'm trying to do now.
Yeah. Well, I think you're crushing it. And it's just been, one, I love spending time with you. Two, I love how committed you are to doing this work and feeling these feelings and completely unapologetic in the way you show up. Like, it inspires me to continue to do this because I see the impact that it's having. And also, I selfishly, everybody that goes through any of our programs, I'm like, I learned something from it, because like, yeah, I wrote the book and yeah, you know, I'm curating this experience, but like, if it was just me flapping my gums and there were no guests or there were no participants or there were no anything, then I'd just be talking in a cycle, like a little vacuum, and that I don't learn anything that way. So thank you for always being so open and one of the first people to jump in with a thought and unafraid to share. And I'm just so inspired by you. And thank you for being here tonight. I love you to the moon and back.
You are so kind. Thank you. I love you as well. And I am so grateful that, you know, you're here, that you fell on my life when I needed you.
Thank you. Awesome. So now let's talk gratitude. For everybody that is in the Zoom chat, if you want to participate, pop on your video and we will call on you to hear what you're grateful for. Miss Vikki, kick us off. What are you grateful for?
I am definitely grateful for my family and all of the support people that I mentioned. And I want to make a particular shout out here to our mutual friend, Dan, and how grateful I am for him. If he is watching right now, he hates that I'm putting him in the spotlight, but we're not going to say his last name. So, you know, he's okay. He's staying anonymous. But, you know, we talked about how Dan gave you to me. Dan also gave me improv. Dan also gave me Gary Ware, who's your guest on June 9th. Dan has been part of some of the things that have been keeping me sane throughout the weird COVID. And just this past week, in the context of the universe provides, Dan showed up like, oh, hey, here's a thing I forgot about a while ago. Can you use it now? I'm like, yes, I need it desperately now. Thank you very much. So thanks, Dan. You are the center of my gratitude today.
I love that. Yay. All right. Well, today I am grateful for the people who see me. And last night, if you guys are watching tonight for the first time, if you weren't with us last night, what happened last night was really rare, and I'm going to cry, and that's fine. Kenya and Michelle Jackson Salters are two of the women that I look up to most in my life, let alone the outdoor industry, let alone wellness, mental health, anything like that. Just period, the end. They are two of the most incredible women that I've ever had the pleasure of calling friends. And last night I gave them the floor and I was like, hey, is there anything else you'd like to talk about? And they chose to use that time to reflect back to me how impactful my work has been for them, which this work would not exist if it weren't for the work that they do, because I found the language to articulate what happened for me on the Trans-Catalina Trail via the work that they do. So tonight, I am just so thankful to be seen. I'm thankful for people who aren't afraid to speak up when they see you, because in my world, if there's ever an opportunity for me to reflect back something to someone and how they impacted me, I want to take that opportunity, because over the 4 years that I was skydiving, 23 of my friends died, and I didn't have a chance to say goodbye to any of them. It was all sudden. It was all out of nowhere. And just having people ripped from your life, I couldn't possibly begin to relate to what is happening in the Black community with police brutality and everything else that's going on. But I do know what it is like to lose somebody in an instant. And I'm just so grateful for the opportunity to be seen. And I'm grateful for the opportunity to reflect back to others how they've impacted me, because we don't always have tomorrow. We don't always have the next hour. So in my gratitude, if there's one thing that I could give everybody tonight, is just, if there's somebody in your life that has made an impact, reach out to them immediately after this broadcast if you need to. You don't have to go like right now. And just tell them how they've impacted your life, because to be able to hear that keeps us going. To be able to feel that makes all the hard times worth it. And we shouldn't have to wait until we're dead for people to be able to speak up about what a great human we were and how we impacted their lives. So if you can, tonight or tomorrow or every day this week or every day for the rest of your life, when people make an impact, let them know before they die, because they deserve to know what their work is doing for you and for the world. So thank you. Valerie, sister, bring it on. What are you thankful for?
Hello. I am thankful as an educator. I am truly thankful for the opportunity to learn, for the ability to learn, for the human, the human way of being able to learn. And while I would never be thankful for COVID, what I have to say is that through this whole COVID situation and the social distancing extravaganza, I have become a part of multiple communities that I would never before had the opportunity to be in. So I have engaged with people that I've never ever thought I would engage with, even people that just had an office 3 doors down the hallway from me, but I had never had the opportunity to talk to them, but I end up in a breakout room with them. And so what I'm thankful for is the ability to learn, the ability to think about new ways of living, and to begin to imagine new ways of doing everything, from education to social engagement to things like this.
I love that. Thank you. Brendan, what are you thankful for?
My wife Sammy decided to join me for this one. I'm grateful for so much, but there's one thing if I can I don't even know how to say it. Yeah, honestly, I don't have the words, but this week, for so many reasons, has made me reflect on my privilege. And I don't want to like discount that. I'm actually not grateful for it. Like I wish that it wasn't a thing, but it clearly is a thing. And I want to try, and I feel like I have not done it enough because whatever reason, maybe I just wasn't completely aware of it. But like this whole situation that's happening right now made me just like realize that I have no fucking idea about anything that people are feeling and that I will never know. And it makes me sad, but it also makes me want to try and do the best that I can to be a better person and to make it so that generations from now, there's everyone's saying, yes, we all live with love and not fear, and with with the privilege to live a life. And like I feel like an idiot even talking about it because I'm just scraping the surface, but I wanted to say something. I wanted to say I don't know, like I don't understand it yet, and I'm just like I feel like I'm at the very tip of the iceberg on the journey, but I want to start being more of that person who makes things better for people somehow. I don't even know what it means yet, but I yeah, I'm sorry. I don't have good words for it, but this week has made me realize a lot, and I want everyone to live the way that I'd like to think people are supposed to live, because we all deserve that. So
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. Thank you. Does Sammy have anything she's thankful for? She wants to chip in here. She's more than welcome.
Brendan thought he was nervous. I wasn't planning to go on because I appreciate what you said about being self-conscious about looks. I've been crying for days and I haven't slept and I don't know what makeup is and I don't even know what I'm wearing. So I was not planning to be on camera, but he showed me that there's this gratitude circle and I was like, I feel called. So I'm really grateful for we have family keeping us safe right now, and not everyone has that. We didn't ask to come here. We were encouraged to come here. We are so loved and cared for and safe, and so much privilege. I have more privilege than, like Brendan said, I'll never understand all the privilege I have. And I'm trying really hard to be a listener this week. And so I'm grateful for everyone teaching me this week and inspiring me. And I'm grateful to live in Minneapolis, St. Paul. I love Minnesota. I love Minneapolis, St. Paul. I love it here because it's diverse. I love my neighbors who are people of color. I love it here, and I wouldn't love it here as much as if it were whitewashed, if it was colorblind. I don't want that. I want to celebrate the diversity in our city, and I'm really grateful that I have a flicker of hope that it's going to be better. But this week's been really hard. But it's going to be better. It has to be.
Yeah, it has to be. There's no way it can't be, right? Like this is hard and it's uncomfortable, and we've all been conditioned to believe that property is worth more than human life, and that's not true. And we're all facing that right now, no matter where we're from or what we've done or what our history is. It's hard. So thank you for trying to find your voice and use it. I know that this is hard and it's a struggle and we don't know what to say, but not saying anything is not the way to go. So we're going to fumble, we're going to mess up, we're going to say the wrong thing, we're going to get corrected, we're going to get yelled at, we're going to, like, we're not doing this right for years. I mean, for centuries, we've been living with these privileges that not a lot of people have been articulating or are aware of. So to become aware of it is one thing, to find your voice is another, and to use that voice for good is all we can do right now. So thank you for committing to that and for loving your city for as much as you can. That's literally all we can do. And it's hard not to put a lot of pressure on ourselves to be there for everything always, but that goes right back to the mantra for this chapter. Like, if we're going to fight this, if we're going to make this world a better place, we have to rest and we have to take care of ourselves, because when we don't, that's when things like this happen. And that's when we just lose sight of the things that are important. So keep fighting, keep feeling, and keep speaking up. Thank you for being here, both of you. Jess, what are you thankful for?
Hey, so I'm actually gonna stick with the motto today. I can do hard things. So yeah, I realized today that in a lot of my relationships, and this is what I'm grateful for. I'm grateful that I can do hard things, because I have not done hard things unless they were easy to me, unless they came easily to me. Like, I own this gorgeous guitar and I want to produce music. Do I know how to play my guitar? No, not yet. But because it's hard and you have to practice. So it was brought to my attention today by myself that when there are relationships in my life that mean the world to me, I can do hard things. I can be vulnerable. I can apologize. I can go back after saying really mean things and say, wow, that was really mean. You're right. You don't deserve that. I love you. And you know what? I had one of those talks earlier today. I'm destroyed by it, but I still have my friend, because I can do hard things. So I'm grateful for the grace of friendship, where you can be mean sometimes and they still love you. And I'm grateful that I can do hard things.
I love that. Thank you, Jess. How about you, Victoria? Nice to see your face. Victoria is going to be one of our guests later on in this series. I'm stoked to have her.
So today, I just felt this overwhelming gratefulness for my body. And this is the first time in my life that I've been able to say this out loud to myself and acknowledge it for what it is. And it's taken all the abuse I've thrown at it all these years, and it's rolled with the punches and just helped carry me through life and actually physically supported me through everything. And it has taken me to some amazing places and done some amazing things. And I'm so grateful to be in the body that I'm in, and I've accepted it for what it is, and I love it. So.
Woo! Yes! I love it. Girl, I'm so excited to have you on. God, this is going to be great. Thank you for sharing, and congratulations, because that moment when you can say that and mean it and know it and love it,
Yeah,
it's the ultimate freedom, because everything in this world wants us not to feel that. So congratulations for breaking free of all the stuff that tells you that you shouldn't love the body you're in, because you should, because it's beautiful. And so are you. Thank you for sharing. Miss Michelle, I love your hair tonight. It looks so pretty. Welcome. What are you grateful for?
It's a sensitive subject. It's about what's going on right now, but I'm grateful for hearing from my ex-husband. My ex-husband is my son's father, and he's a police officer in Baltimore. Yeah, we've had our differences and all, but we're civil. It's about our son all the time. But I'm scared. I mean, my son's father, he's not a bad cop. He's one of the good cops. Um, my son hasn't seen his father since July of last year because he moved out to Baltimore for the police academy. We were supposed to go see him back in April. It was going to be a surprise for my son, but due to COVID, we had to cancel the trip. Now the trip is scheduled for October. Now this happens, and now I'm just praying that just we need peace.
Yeah,
We need peace.
big
My
time.
son needs his father. Yesterday it was hell. None of us could get a hold of him. We didn't know what was going on. He finally reached out. We talk every day because he talks to my son. He skipped yesterday, and I freaked out. And it's scary. It's scary, but I'm so damn grateful that we finally heard from him. He's doing okay. Things are crazy everywhere, but we just need we need peace on all sides. We need change. There's a better way to handle this. We just I'm an emotional mess right now. I'm sorry.
That's okay. You've earned the right to be an emotional mess. I can't even imagine. Well, I can on some degree, but not at all.
Yeah.
Sending you so much love, Michelle. Thank you for being here. And thank your husband. We're keeping him in our thoughts. It's not, we know not all police officers are bad. Ex-husband. My bad. So sorry.
My current husband.
X.
Baby daddy.
Thank you for being here. Yeah.
Thank you.
Laura, what are you thankful for tonight? You're muted.
Which Laura?
Oh, do I need to? Oh, Laura Bingaman. Sorry, there's so many. Oh, jeez. This is happening again. There we go.
I was going to let Laura go first. I had said on Tuesday, our first virtual campfire, that I was grateful for the virtual campfire and for everything that's going on. My brother had come over and helped me on Monday, and he had said some things that have kind of been tearing apart for me. Because I wasn't perfect enough in his world. And again, I am grateful for your inspiration, for Vikki and Jess and Mary and Lydia being there for me and just trusting in me, for the music of Brendan and all the other artists that have put beautiful songs in our hearts. So thank you all.
Big love, Laura. I love you so much. Thank you for being here.
Thanks.
Laura T, what you got?
I think openness is what I was thinking, because like Valerie, I'm a teacher, so learning about me and my place in the world definitely is something that's important to me. But I think it's been talked about already, that openness is something I'm grateful for, that I'm open to continuing to learn about my place and my past. I fit into the majority culture. If you just pass me quickly on the street, but I am half Japanese. There's some interesting things there, but openness to learning about other people and to support being an ally. It's definitely important for me because my school district is huge on equity and cultural competency and being there for our students of color. So there's a lot of openness. Being in this district the last 5 years has definitely helped me to move forward and to be supportive and to be an ally.
I love that. Thank you for sharing. And Jennifer, hi, nice to see you. What are you thankful for?
Hi, I'm thankful for this tonight. I live in downtown San Francisco, and the last few days have been pretty scary outside. There's a lot of looting, there's a lot of gang violence and all kinds of really awful things happening. So I've been mostly like kind of confined, and we're on curfew and everything. So it's nice to just have something to like kind of distract from this as everything's going on and I can hear it, and getting all these alerts and everything. So thanks for just like having a ritual kind of space every night to like block it all out. So that's it.
Yeah, thank you. And Mary, what are you thankful for?
Yeah, for me, it's kind of along the same lines of this group and having it every night, just with everything going on and being able to hear all these voices and everyone sharing through their music or their stories or through the gratitude circle of just how they're feeling, how they're questioning everything right now, and just having this place that I know I'm going to have tonight and tomorrow night and the next night where it's okay to talk about this stuff. And I don't always know what to say, but I want to hear what everyone else has to say. And that kind of helps me put all my thoughts together. So I just want to thank everyone here, and especially Laura. I love your voice, Laura. I love hearing you talk. And so I just want to thank you for that.
And I see Michelle has her hand raised. So Michelle, did you want to share more?
No, I pressed it
just
by
an
accident.
accident?
Sorry. Yeah. I'm on a
Okay, no
tablet
worries.
and
I
I'm
just
like,
didn't want to. No worries. Is there anybody else in the Zoom chat that would like to share what they're grateful for tonight? Boop, 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 boop. Hey, okay, cool. So thank you everybody for joining us. We have 2 weeks left of this. So for those of us that are here in the Zoom chat that are thankful for having this place to reflect and learn and be inspired and communicate in the group chat, and we've got some great prizes, like Solomon gave away 3 6 swag bags. Like there's all kinds of good stuff coming up over the next 2 weeks. So if you're watching on YouTube and you're loving what you're seeing and you want to join for the whole thing, it's not too late. So we have an all access pass. It's $100. That brings it down to like $5 a Campfire. And in that you get to participate in the Q&A, you get to participate in the group gratitude circle. We have great prizes from our sponsors and partners that you are eligible to receive for being a donor. Like Kaleo from Pepper recorded 2 songs exclusively for us, 2 versions of Brand New Day and the Invite. My friend Gary, that's coming up later in the week, has a guided meditation that we're going to be sending around to our donors. Kat Humphus, who's here tomorrow, is doing she's giving us all a recipe for like her favorite granola, so you can like up your trail snack game. Just all kinds of great stuff that's coming for people that have donated to the fundraiser. So for those of you that are in the Zoom meeting, thank you. Please stick around. We'll do our post show chat after we wrap up here. And for everybody on YouTube, thanks for being here. Thanks for bringing your energy. Thanks for being part of this. Thanks for following the musicians that we've had on. Thanks for spreading your love and your good vibes. We really, really appreciate it. Up next tomorrow, we have Garrett Hooper. He is the founder of Front Range Nature Therapists. He lives in Colorado. He is a legit therapist that does legit outdoor therapy. So he takes his clients outdoors and does all the stuff that makes healing in the outdoors amazing. One of the things that I'm most excited about this episode tomorrow is having Doc Peace join us. Doc Peace is a spoken word artist. She's a pharmacist by trade, doctor by trade, but a spoken word artist at heart. And she did a piece at one of the events that I spoke at right before COVID hit and we canceled everything. And I cried. And she is so powerful and so inspirational. And I'm so excited for you guys to hear her flow tomorrow night. And then we also have Kat Humphus, who is one of my best friends. She's like in my trust tree, on my personal board of directors, in my inner circle. She's one of my first calls when anything is happening, good, bad, ugly, or indifferent. And we're going to just be talking about how we communicate as friends. There's an exercise that we do called future pulling that we do to manifest what we actually want to see have happen in our lives. So we'll be talking about that tomorrow. And yeah, I know I said we were going to do interactive journaling today, but we're already at 7:15, so we'll save that for another day. But if you're joining us on YouTube, thanks for being here. If you're in the Zoom chat, thanks for being here, and we will see you guys tomorrow.